Today, we are poised to introduce a new set of education reforms starting in 2026. While the reforms are wide-ranging, let me discuss some key aspects of it, which are to do with English language teaching in this country. First, we plan to introduce reforms that will place greater emphasis on encouraging our students to actually engage in using the English language in speech and writing, instead of viewing English only as a subject that needs to be passed at the exams. In order to make our learners use the language, we, as educators, need to work not only on teaching our students the language, but actively getting involved in minimizing the fear of using English. There is a lot of research on how attitudes of fear, shame, and embarrassment prevent our students from becoming fluent speakers of English. I have often been amazed at the fact that our students learn other languages, Chinese, Hindi, Japanese, whatever other language, much faster than English, for which we have poured in decades of trying to teach English. So there's clearly something else going on here that we really need to address. We need to tell them that speaking English the Sri Lankan way is fine, as long as it is understood by Sri Lankan and international audiences. To make this transformation possible, my view is that English teachers need to be encouraging and supportive of all attempts to use English and not constantly check students for grammatical accuracy and proper pronunciation. I believe that it is only then that we can take our students beyond that slavish attitude that I referred to earlier. In order to promote such an approach to teaching English, I believe that our assessment system should also change. And this is another key area of the new education reforms. We are working with all the relevant stakeholders to promote school-based formative assessment, not only for English, but for all subjects. For English, this means that we have to grapple with the challenges of assessing spoken language use in the classroom, in addition to testing it through the conventional means of reading and writing. And we need to recognize that this assessment is part of the learning process and not an end goal in itself. For all this to happen, I'm sure you will agree with me that we need to strengthen our teacher education systems. This is a key priority area in our reforms. At present, teachers are trained through pre-service and in-service training programs. The new education reforms places a huge emphasis on strengthening both these training systems. For this, the curricula will be revamped. I was shocked to learn that the curriculum for teacher training had not changed in 16 years. Am I right? 16 years. So we're making this a priority. And there will be several sustained, continuous professional development programs with proper monitoring and evaluation and accompanied by research to see that these training programs have impact that will prepare the teachers to deliver the new curriculum. We recognize that the success of the new curriculum depends a lot on how it is perceived and delivered by the teachers. I'm pleased to note that strengthening bilingual or English medium education is also on the agenda today. This is a very important part of the contemporary education system of Sri Lanka, and we recognize the need to support bilingual education, English medium instruction. One of the critical needs is to formulate a bilingual education or English medium instruction policy for the system. Given the demand for English medium instruction, at present, steps are underway to increase the number of schools that offer English medium instruction from around 825 to at least 1,000. In addition, we need to increase the number of bilingual education teachers in the system. And for that, we need to fund our Postgraduate Institute of English, which, as I am constantly reminded by the director for the PGIE, who happens to be also here. We are actively engaging in providing training for teachers who are currently in the system. I'm also happy to see that advancing innovation and the use of digital tools for teaching will receive attention at today's symposium. At yesterday's cabinet, we approved a memorandum put forward by the Ministry of Education to establish a task force that will look at digital education across the board, not just about curriculum, but also about teacher training and also about online safety. So, and we are going to appoint this task force for a period of 3 years so that they can actually get some in-depth work done. We know that digital technology is changing the learning landscape exponentially. In schools today, we have a situation where, on the one hand, we have students who have unlimited access to these tools and can quite possibly teach the teachers, while on the other, we have students who can't afford any of this equipment. It is our responsibility to bridge this divide, and this will also receive our attention as part of the new education reforms. It is only then that our students can access the latest technological tools that are available for learning. We also recognize that our teachers need to be trained on using these technologies, and as part of the new reforms, we are taking steps to provide this through pre-service and in-service teacher training programs. We are also looking at the infrastructure and the connectivity and other resources in the teaching colleges, in the national colleges of education, as well as the teacher training centers, because we realize that these were sadly not equipped to meet with these changing demands of education. We must also be mindful, however, of the dangers of the digital world and make sure that the digital world is safe for all. At the same time, I want to mention that we need our learners to be competent also in both the national languages, Sinhala and Tamil. When I was in the university system, the course that I was teaching on was in the English medium, and sometimes when I used to think that maybe it is because of the varying quality, varying capacity of the students in English that resulted in poor outcomes at examinations and assessments. And I would sometimes ask them to shift to the language of their choice in Sinhala or Tamil. I've also taught in Sinhala medium courses, and I've discovered to my horror that even in children's or young people's mother tongues, their reading, writing skills, not what we expect at the university level. So I think there's a problem here in how we've been teaching language and the lack of attention given to language. And I must say that this sort of overemphasis on STEM education at the cost of every other discipline, which is also essential for education, has resulted in producing students who are neither good in STEM nor in basic literacy or numeracy or any of the skills that we require and that we expect. And when I was in the university system, we used to talk about the fact that schools were no longer providing those kinds of basic skills that you expect a student to have when they enter university. While we are enthusiastic about teaching English and also opening their world to other languages, we must make sure that students and learners are thoroughly competent in Sinhala and Tamil. We need to understand that this huge demand for English medium education or learning English stems from a social anxiety and fears about being left behind. To address this fear, we must ensure learners understand that being left behind is not simply about English, but other competencies as well. Teaching English is not the magic bullet that will fix everything else that is wrong in our education system. The next point I wish to share with you is that you, in your capacity as an educator, are a vital stakeholder in the new education reform process. As you can imagine, a great deal of public awareness needs to be done about the new reforms, and you will be at the front line of delivering this information. You will be expected to speak to parents, students, and community members about the new reforms. We sincerely hope that when you do so, you will not only provide them with the facts, but that you will also be enthusiastic and passionate about the new developments and about the need for education reforms in this country. We know that Sri Lanka's education system has been viewed not only in the region, but also around the world as a success because of the way in which it provides an education that is free of charge to all students, regardless of socioeconomic status. We hope that we can strengthen this view by modernizing our education system through this new reform process. Even more importantly, we hope that the new reforms will succeed in equipping our students not only to cope with the challenges of today, but also shape our country's tomorrow. So, we stand at a crucial juncture between national policy and the daily realities of our schools. Effective action requires stronger coordination across ministries, within the ministries and the associated institutions, deeper engagement with educators and communities, and the combined efforts of government, development agencies, and the private sector. To all our partners here today, I ask you to take up the challenge of supporting our new initiatives and to work with us to make these efforts a success.